Hey, everybody. Welcome to another great edition of the Bailey Pod. You catch the Bailey Pod via YouTube every Thursday at 8 p.m. I'll be bringing you the Bailey Pod every Thursday at 8 p.m. via YouTube. Remember, go follow, go like the Bailey Pod, and don't forget to click that bell in the bottom right-hand corner. Also, too, I want to pay special thanks to those that have gone and followed and liked the Bailey Pod. It really means a lot to me. Keep it coming. As long as you keep coming, I'll keep delivering. So usually at the beginning of the show, I usually tell viewers to quickly go get a drink of water, go get a snack, something to fuel you a little bit. I'm gonna fuel you too, but just something with a little bit more substance to it to fuel you. And then we're gonna come right back and we're gonna get into the meats and potatoes of the show. Let's get ready for the Bailey Pod. Yes, and we're back again. Welcome to the Bailey Pod, the fourth edition of the actual high school football season. We usually start the show off by just illuminating some actual top performers, some Bailey Pod top performers that have actually performed really well on Friday night. I'm just going to go ahead and start. I'm going to get into it. I had 8 this week. 8. First week I had 3. Second week I had 4. This week I have 8. And I couldn't leave none of these gentlemen out. I'm just going to go ahead and start with number 1. Cam Burner, Freeport, 194 yards on the ground, 2 TDs in their victory over Belvidere. Boylan, Alex Hernandez, he's a two-way athlete, 83-yard kickoff return, and a few other TDs that he had in that game, in that victory over Jefferson last Friday. Jefferson, LaShawn Gathright, 103 on the ground for 20 carries and 1 TD. Belvidere North, Ben Booker, 85 yards, 3 TDs on 5 carries. Wow, he's hot. Grayson Weber for the Guilford Vikings, 11 and 13, passing 154 yards, 4 TDs. 11 of his passes went to 8 different receivers. 11 different of those passes went to 8 different receivers. Boy, you would have thought it was Christmas the way he was just spreading the gift. Number 6 here, Kurt Smith of Hononegah. Saw him play last week. This dude's a treat to watch. 227 on the ground, 14 carries, 3 TDs with their big victory over Harlem. Brock, his sidekick, Brock Anderson, Hononegah, running back, 106 on the ground, 6 carries and 2 TDs, and again in their victory over Harlem. Last but not least, number 8, Jackson Cook, Harlem, sophomore at that, must I say, 1 INT, 140-yard kick return in their loss to Hononegah. So congratulations to you guys that have made the actual Bailey Pod top performers of the week. This is something new I've started. I'm going to start doing a quick take. And it's going to be a very quick tape because our guest is waiting tonight. So I'm just going to be really quick here. I usually go out and I actually follow high school football. I go out and cover games for the show on Overtime on Fox 39 with Scott Leber and the team. And, usually when I'm at games, I go back to the studio and I give my analysis. And then that's it for me for the evening. And I come back and I do my podcast the following week. So I'm going to start just doing just a quick take. I was at the Harlem and Hononegah game last Friday, and I'll tell you, Hononegah's special. They're really good. They're a really good team. I like what they do offensively. They don't turn the ball over. They execute well in what they have up front. Where they win the biggest is at the line of scrimmage, allowing those backs of Anderson and Smith to do what they do once they get to the second level. Harlem just had a bad night that night. You go back and if you were there at the game, that's all you saw was Jamadi Hamid going east, west, east, west, east, west. He's got to get his shoulders square with the line of scrimmage, and he's got to be able to go to 0 to 10. He didn't have that. Really didn't have really good blocking that night as well. Hopefully Harlem bounces back. But that Hononegah team, boy, they're going to be special. They're going to be something to see here down in the weeks to come. So again, that's my quick take of the week. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm just going to move forward here. We're going to get to our next guest here. He is the head coach at Belvidere North High School. I'm just going to give you a little history on him. He's won 9 playoff visits. He's actually tied Hononegah in 2014. He shared the Nick 10 title. He actually was coach of the year in 2014. Without further ado, guys, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my guest tonight, Coach Jeff Beck. Coach, how you doing?
Doing great. How about yourself?
Good, man. Good to see you. Thanks for joining me on the pod tonight, man. I really appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy. You're getting ready for this big game on Friday night. showdown with the Titans as they come to town. Coach, where I want to start here, I just really want to talk a little bit about you as the coach, and just give the viewers a little bit more insight of who you are, what you do, how you function, and how long you've been around as a head coach. So let's just go ahead and just get to business here. Talk about, again, I highlighted earlier, you had 9 playoff visits. You tied Nick 10 champ with Heinening in 2014. You've been at Belvidere North now, head coach for 12 years, and you were coach of the year in 2014. If somebody who didn't know you was looking at this, they would say, this coach has really had some really great success over the last 12 years. Speak to that success that you've had thus far.
Yeah, I've been really proud on what we've been able to establish at Belvidere North. The school hadn't been open that long before I got there. Kurt Tobin started the program, and had, some success. And Coach Zaremski took over for a few years. And then a guy by the name of Rich Turner was there as the head coach my first year at North. I was an assistant. And he moved on, and I went in and told Jody Flynn, our athletic director, that I wanted to be the next football coach. And he told me to kind of hold my horses a little bit. He had to get some candidates and do some interviews. Right. He told me I'd be in that mix for the interview, and I was lucky enough to get that job. And just trying to put a good quality coaching staff together of good role models for our young men in our program, and teach the fundamentals, teach the basics, and teach the things that we hope can make our kids be successful on and off the field. We preach effort, attitude, and team. And I know it's might sound cliche, but we just ask the kids always to play as hard as they possibly can, give their max effort, have a positive attitude, allow themselves to be coached, and have a positive attitude with their teammates, and then just be a good teammate. Understand their role within what we do. And, we say no role is too small. The guys that are running scout team for us, may not get in on a Friday night on the sideline yelling, run, pass, ball. Like, everyone's got a role, and do it to the best of your ability. And I think those pillars we've kind of built our program on have allowed us to be successful over the last 12 years.
Sure. As you just alluded to, your coaching staff, how it's kind of important to, not kind of, but it's important to have a very, very, very well rounded staff in order to be successful. In your 12 years, you've had coaches, stay there for, 3 or 4 years, some leave due to, moving out of town. What is it as a head coach? What do you look for in your assistant coaches, and how important is that to you to be surrounded around really great coaches like you have this year?
Well, anytime I interview anyone, for a coaching position or looking to bring somebody on, to me, I'm really looking for 3 things. The number one thing is, can you develop positive relationships with our players? And that's hard to tell when you meet someone for a first time, but I think getting to talk to someone and getting to know them, you kind of find out what they're about as a person, and what, things are important to them. And we want to make sure that we have quality, like I said, role models around these young men. We're trying to develop, future good husbands and fathers and citizens. And, we just want good men around our kids. So the number one thing is, can you build, a positive relationship with kids? And the number 2 thing is the dedication of time to coaching. It's such a time consuming thing, to watch film and to make a practice plan every day and have a game plan. And you got to be willing to dedicate the time and effort. And then really the third thing is what they actually know about football. To me, that's the least important of the 3. So in order, positive relationships, willingness to dedicate that time and effort, and then, finally, what they actually know about football. Because I feel if you're willing to dedicate the time and effort, you can make yourself a better football coach. You can learn schemes. There's plenty of opportunities out there to go to clinics, and learn as much as you can. So I just think it's really essential to get those good people around our kids. And I think we've done a really good job of that. I mean, we've, had some guys come and go over the years, but we've had a core of coaches that have been around the whole time since I've been there. We've been able to add some people recently that have really made an impact on our program. So I'm really happy about our coaching staff.
Right, yeah. And, Coach, I like what you're doing. I mean, you and I have been knowing each other for a while. And, I'm always praising you guys, on the overtime when we cover you guys for our game of the week at the news station. And one thing I always say, they just have a really good staff. You guys have a really good staff. They know how to get it done. They have a culture. They have a standard. Would you agree with me, in terms of, the standard and the culture that you've been able to actually assemble over there has allowed you to be where you are today?
Oh yeah, no doubt. I think when I got to North in 2012, I was new to the area. I kind of came out from the suburbs, so I didn't know a ton about the conference. I tried to do my research, and learn what I could. And obviously that was right in the midst of Boylan, and their conference winning streak. So, and they were coming off back-to-back state championships in 10 and 11. Read a lot about them, obviously, and Hononegah, Harlem and some of those programs. So, for me, I was an assistant. I was just trying to get my feet on the ground somewhere, and, it ended up working out. So for me as the head coach, when I was taking over, it was all, what we were going to be about, and how we were going to coach up our kids. Obviously, the dedication to the weight room was going to be huge. And that has increased, tenfold since I've been there with the addition of our strength and conditioning class and, getting kids in the weight room. And, I say this every year for the last few years, we have more kids lifting at Belvidere North than ever before since I've been there. So it's a great thing. Our strength conditioning class started back, I'm going to throw out a year here. I think it was 2018. That we started that class. We had 8 sections of it. So we had 4 classes each semester. And this year we have 22 sections. So to have that dedication of our kids in the weight room, that was huge. But really, as a coaching staff for us, it was what's going to help our kids be successful. And in 2014, we had coming off of my first year as head coach, we had some kids that were kind of left over from the spread system. And we were running spread on the varsity level, and my background in the option with the flex bone, we had that being installed on the lower levels. So it was kind of crazy. You'd come to Belvidere North on a Friday night in 2014, watch our varsity team in 2x2 and 3x1 and, throwing screens, throwing the ball all over the place. And then you'd watch our lower levels running flex bone triple option. So, 2015, we made the switch over to flex bone, and it's been very good to us. So, the things we're preaching to the kids is, like you said, ball security, pad level, and just getting first downs offensively, and not looking for that 60-yard play. When it's there, it's there. But, getting first downs and possessing the ball has been really good to us. And then defensively, we've just prided ourselves on trying to be a good tackling team. A team that's schematically sound, that we don't give up the big play. We don't have missed assignments where guys are running free, in the run or pass game, and you make a team execute down the field on you. And, those kind of principles, I've said those time and time again in interviews I've done over the years, and they've just been very good to us. And that's just possessing the ball and kind of being very methodical about what we do offensively and defensively, just being sound, to prevent that big play.
Absolutely. Coach, last question before we move on here on the topic of yourself here. How do you kind of alluded to it earlier about how you prepare, what coaches go through and some of the things that they have to do throughout the year in order to be successful during the season. What are some of the things that a head coach does during the off season? I know what you kind of do during the in season, but can you just shed a little light on us a little bit about what you do during the off season? Because a lot of people think head coaches don't do anything during the off season but work on plays. But I would beg to differ. I think you do. I would say you probably do a little bit more than that. Can you just share with the viewers what the head coach's job role is or should be during the off season?
Yeah, I mean, I can really only speak for myself, and for me, that off season time is big culture time for us. So I teach a number of our strength conditioning classes. Along with some other teachers at North. And for us, it's just like priding ourselves on doing the little things the right way, that's, I should be able to walk into the weight room at any point that we have a football player in there and know that they're going to be doing what they're asked to do, the prescribed sets, reps. They're going to be using proper technique. They're going to be spotting each other using proper safety
Like it.
protocols. So it's just big culture time for me in the off season, and it's really a year-round thing of keeping kids in line, and that's, you got to know, kids got to know that you're visible. I have cafeteria supervision. So that's something that I love to do. I'm in the cafeteria, I'm around our kids,
Right.
making sure they're acting the right way, making sure kids are staying on top of their grades. So for me, it's just a big culture time, and, having those conversations with kids that might be, slacking in one area or the other, that, hey, eyes are on you, and that's
Right.
when we were building our coaching staff. A real push of mine was to get a lot more teachers in the building on our coaching staff, and we've been able to do that. So, at every level, we have more coaches in the building, and again, just telling these kids, eyes are on them, and you got to be doing things the right way. And yeah, of course, you're looking at what you did schematically the year before and seeing, what's worth keeping, what's worth pitching, what's something else you might want to invest your time in, offensively or defensively or on special teams. But for me, it's all about establishing that culture and that standard throughout the offseason, and being visible to our kids. And like I said, not saying, hey, football season's done, I'll see you next June or July,
Right.
when we roll around for camp again. Let them know that in the months of January and February and March, we're still going to be on them about doing things the right way. So I think that's huge about the off season. And then, of course, getting out to clinics and getting out to other schools, learning what you can. It's just such a valuable time to get with your staff.
Sure.
And, we meet usually as a coaching staff every other weekend throughout the off season. So like I said, every 2 weeks we'll get together on a Sunday and, just have a game plan of what we want to do. We want to look at, what was our best inside run last year? Let's break it down. Let's look at the data. What got us the most yardage? What was an efficient play for us in the inside run game? Or how can we improve, this facet of what we do? So that's a huge part of it. But I really, truly believe the best part about the offseason is just being around the kids and establishing your culture.
It sounds like to me you take a very, very eager sort of, methodical approach to how you go about getting prepared, what you do during the off season, and then also to what you need to do during the in season. Would you consider yourself very pragmatic during that time of the year? You kind of alluded to it earlier about what you do and, your regiment of how you get things done and how you go about going off the clinics and things like that. Would you say you're probably a little bit more methodical in a good way?
Yeah, I think, I think when we sit down, usually for our first staff meeting, it's there's usually that just kind of big picture. There's always a lot of ideas thrown out there,
Sure.
About the previous season. You've had a little time to reflect, and kind of, just look at the season as a whole through kind of clear eyes. During the season, sometimes, it's such a grind, and when you're towards the end of it, it's hard to remember what happened in week 1 or week 2 or the middle of the season. We played 12 weeks of football. We were fortunate enough to play the quarterfinals last year. And, by the end of it, we were so banged up, and we were limited kids left and right in practice, to try to preserve their bodies and, to be prepared for the next game. So it's such a grind. And then you get to the off season, you get a little more time to get a little more perspective on the season. So then for us, it's, kind of just looking at each side of the ball and letting the coordinators kind of, break down, hey, what was really good for us this year that we might need to investigate further and do a little bit more of. Maybe it was a certain coverage or a front on defense that we only used 20% of the time, but it was really good. It was really effective that 20% of the time, or a certain play offensively. So, yeah, I think having that data inform, your kind of course of action throughout the offseason, to me is really important because, otherwise you're just grasping at straws, so for us, it's about getting back on the film and, obviously you want to be evaluating personnel for next year or for the upcoming season as well, after a season. But, to me, you got to get in that data. You got to get into the numbers. That's something that we have an advantage as coaches right now where, maybe our coaches in school, when we were in high school, didn't have all the data that we have, didn't have
Right.
huddle,
No,
didn't have
it's a
everything
different.
right.
It's a different. Right. It's a different day. It's a
For
different day
sure.
for sure.
So
Technically,
if you're
for sure.
yeah, if you're not diving into that as a coach, like I think you're kind of
Right.
missing the boat because it's
Right.
all right there at your fingertips. And
Right.
we have a really dedicated coaching staff, so we can, tell a coach, hey, I want you to break down this game for me, and I don't have to do it all on my own. That's the great part about it.
Wow. That's a
You
beautiful
kind of
thing.
yeah, absolutely. Delegating, responsibility. It keeps me sane. It keeps my wife happy.
Right.
So
You got to do
you
that.
know, exactly. So,
Right.
delegating responsibilities to all your coaches, it makes them feel more
Right.
involved, and just always kind of looking at it, like I said, through that, clear eyes and a different perspective outside
Sure.
the season, I think, helps inform like your course of action. So,
Right.
I took over the offensive play calling this year, and I was kind of like beginning of the offseason, I was all over the place. I'm like, I want to do this, I want to do this, and then I had to like go.
Wanted your hand in every jar, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I really had to kind of, and it was really just our coaching staff that was like, Coach, you got a lot of good ideas, but let's make sure we're narrowing our scope. And Coach Frank Oldani, who coaches with us, he was just kind of my voice of reason and saying, hey, let's stick to the basics and let's get really good at what we do.
Right. That's why you keep good coaches around you. That's
Absolutely.
why you keep them around you. Coach, let's go ahead and pivot. Let's talk about you're 3-0. You're sitting at 3-0 now. Week 1, you guys went into Guilford Stadium. You pulverized Guilford, 29-zip. Week 2, you guys walked out of. Excuse me, you didn't walk out, but you guys actually went into 2 overtimes with Freeport, 35-27. You walked away from that game with a little heartburn. Week 3, you go 27-12 over East. And right now, you guys are second in offense with 91 points. On defense, you guys are third with allowing 39 points to your opponents. What are some of the things? Speak to me some of the things that you guys do offensively so well that allows you guys to continue to play at a clip that you guys are playing at right now. Because I've seen a lot of teams play, particularly the upper echelon teams, the Hononegans, the Harlems, and then you guys in Guilford as well. I've seen you guys play East as well. Can't leave East out. I've seen you guys all play, and I would have to say right now you're one of those 5 teams that I've actually witnessed playing at a high clip right now. What are you doing offensively, and how do you continue to sustain that level of play?
Well, like I said, for us, it's really, just that possession type of offense, and that's so important to us. I think it's very demoralizing in when you have a team's offense, an opponent's offense sitting over on the sideline for long periods of time. So, as much as we can, establish the run game and obviously get first downs, I think those big plays are going to come. And I think we've actually had, a few more big plays probably early in the season than we're probably typically used to because we got some real explosive backs this year. But for me, it's just, like I said, I want to get on a drive and I want to take 6 minutes off the clock. I want to get that opposing offense, anxious over on the sideline and thinking that they got to take a shot or do something outside of their comfort zone because we just drove down the field and had a nice 10 or 12 play drive. So that's offensively for us. That's kind of the formula. And like I said, we've probably hit a couple more big plays early in the season with some of the kids that we have, but that's not something that's usually typical for us.
Coach, every year I talk to you, we have some sort of conversation, either it's in person or via text or email. And, the past times we've talked, you've always talked about how undersized you are on the defensive line. You're 3-0 right now. And many would think that due to your lack of size, there's no way Belvidere North should be 3-0. Can you speak to that to me just a little bit of how have you gotten those linemen ready each and every year, knowing that some of these kids are 5'9", 5'10", 160, 170. You and I both know that's small for a lineman. Would you agree?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. The thing we do every day is just like, we don't skimp on, we call them pad level circuits. And if we do, 3 or 4 stations, we actually just broke away from doing them 2 times a week on our Tuesday and Wednesday, our work days. We get them into groups, and kids get pretty jacked up for it. And it's just all about pad level. It's just all about playing low. It's all about taking one more step. That's something that we try to reinforce in blocking and in tackling, always taking one more step. So we get them in these pad level circuits. And this was actually the week we just passed kind of that third of the regular season. So we dial it back, to one day a week where we're doing the pad level circuits, but especially with as warm as it's been this week. It's just getting the kids in that low position. And Coach Fagan says this all the time, getting the kids comfortable being uncomfortable.
I love it.
And that's,
I love it. Absolutely.
Bending the knees, bending the knees, getting their heads down.
Right. Because the body will adapt. The body will adaptable. It's very adaptable. So the kids will adapt to being that low. I totally agree. Totally agree with what he actually said to you. So, Coach. So, again, is that your formula for your offensive, defensive linemen in terms of the circuit that you just mentioned? Because, again, I'm amazed every year when you guys line up and you're undersized. I walk away enthralled. I'm like, wow, they are disciplined and they're doing something right over there. I don't know what it is, but is it the drill that you just mentioned? Does that have a lot to do with the success?
Yeah, I think so. And, getting our kids in the summer, this past summer on the weight sleds, and just, again, getting them used to that kind of forward lean, and getting them on the blocking sled during the season and the blocking circuits. And, Coach Fagan defensively really harps on tackling circuits, or he calls them team fundies. So, just getting on the line and just working on scooping a leg and getting the top of your shoulder on someone's thigh, not trying to tackle shoulders or, up around the upper body, just grabbing those legs and being low. Yeah, I think there's definite carryover between offense and defense. Our fit position as a blocker looks the exact same as it looks when one of our defensive guys should be tackling somebody.
Wow.
So those drills, there's carryover. We have a lot of kids that play two ways, both sides of the ball. So, yeah, we're just reinforcing those, principles every day in practice, whether it's offense or defense. And then obviously, when you watch and review practice film, you should see that translate over to your play, and when you're watching a game film, you should see that translate. So, I'm watching last week, our kids blocking a kid from East who probably had to be 280 pounds, and they're hitting them at the hip or the thigh, and they're moving them because they're so much lower and they're running their feet and taking one more step. So, yeah, I mean, and like I said, it applies both offense and defense. So, it's something that we harp on and something that we're hitting every day in practice. So our kids are used to it by now.
I love it. If it's not broke, why fix it, right?
Yeah.
So Coach, let's start. I'm going to mention a few names here. And I just love the way these young men are playing right now. They're really playing at a really high clip. Roman, Booker, Dismore, Tapia. I mean, can you give me something on these young men here? Let's start with Roman, because I like what he does. He's a two-way player. He looks like a really strong kid, runs downhill very well, can get to the second level. He's got a gear as well. I like him. Speak about his level of play right now. How is he playing in that Belvidere North offense and defense for you guys right now? And does he have more ceiling left this year?
Yeah, I still think that's the kind of scary part about it, is that I do think Eric Roman can still get better as a football player. I mean, he's only a junior. We're still early on in his junior season.
Oh.
The kid's been up with us since his freshman year. That's the first freshman I've ever had up at the varsity level 2 years ago with him and Ben Booker. So to have those kids up now, it's almost like they're seniors, just the mentality and the leadership and the knowledge that they have of what we do. Eric is playing at a very high level for us on both sides of the ball, carrying the ball. I think he's averaging close to 9 yards, 10 yards a carry, with the explosive plays.
Impressive.
And, these are two-way guys for us. Eric's also our starting middle linebacker. So, we got to limit the carries. We know that those guys can do things for us, but we also can't have them, completely gassed out in the fourth quarter. So, that's it's always kind of the balancing act of, I'd love to give the ball to Eric or Ben, 20 times a game, and sometimes we may have to do that, but when we can try to preserve those kids because they are defensive starters as well. We have to do that. So Eric plays at a high level. He's a very football savvy kid, high football IQ. So, you teach him a game plan and something to look for, a formation. He's going to learn it. He's going to know it. He's going to tell everyone around him. He's a great communicator. That's why he's our middle linebacker. So getting everyone on the same page. And then obviously he's just a tough, kind of gritty kid. And, he's
Right.
very strong. He worked on his speed in the off season by running track and with Coach Byers, who's one of our track coaches and also a football coach. So, and then, pretty much the same can be said about Ben Bucher. Ben starts at safety for us. But again, he's one of our ball carriers that's super explosive. He 5 carries for 85 yards and 3 touchdowns last game. So he's a big play waiting to happen, and does a great job for us defensively. We use him in a variety of different ways, lined up as a safety, sometimes spun down in the box. So again, playing with us now in his 3rd year of varsity football, is just it's a treat to have those guys, and they do a great job for us. And Trent Dinsmore is a senior defensive lineman, also plays some fullback for us. Just a very dependable workhorse type of kid. I love he comes to practice every day. He wants to go full contact all the time, and it's like, Trent, we can't do that
easy, big fella, easy.
Yeah, exactly. But he's just he's kind of like an old school kind of ball player, like gridiron type of kid, and I love coaching him. He's a really funny kid. He's very charismatic and fun to be around. But yeah, I mean, he just wants to work. He just wants to get kind of dirty. He just wants to get in there and mix it up. So playing fullback and defensive line is a great spot for him. And then
I'm pretty sure you've seen. I'm pretty sure you've seen. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Coach. I'm pretty sure you've seen some of that tenacity that he has rub off on some of your guys. Would you say?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the kids know, like, when Trent carries the ball, like, you better bring it, because if you don't, he's not slowing down. He's going to lower his pads. He's going to. Yeah, exactly. So they know they got to kind of raise their game when he's running the ball, and they better bring it. And so, but Nick Tapia is our quarterback, and he does a great job for us, just kind of commanding the offense. We've given Nick a little bit of freedom at the line of scrimmage to see things and look at the defense and get us in what he thinks is the best call. And he's a super, super cerebral kid. So to have a kid like that, and he was our backup last year, so he didn't get quite the amount of reps. But when he goes out there, he has a great feel for the game and just getting us in a really good play. And, as a coach, sometimes it's hard to let go of that, that control and that, hey, I want to be in this play. But Nick will always, come back to the sideline or come up to you after a play and be like, Coach, this is what I saw. You told me if I saw that, we want to go to this. And I just love that as a coach. He's coached.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he's just been coached up really well as our lower level quarterback as a freshman and sophomore. So now that he's the varsity starter, he's got that knowledge. He's got that kind of base of what we're looking for and what certain plays we want to get into.
So is that, I know you just alluded to giving him, I'm paraphrasing, but giving him that green light at the LOS, allowing him to check down, change the play if he needs to. Is that something new this year? Because I know the gentleman last year, Weckler, if I'm correct, that's his name, right? The quarterback from last year, the young man from last year, Weckler.
Quarterback last year was Max Gillenswan. Weckler was a few years ago.
Gillenswan, excuse me. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Is that why is this something new that you've actually implemented and giving him that green light to where he can make those checks at the LOS?
Well, we've always tried to give the quarterback, it might be some years just like on certain plays, like, get up to the line and we want to run a certain play to a certain technique. So we call it choice in the huddle. So they just go find that technique and they're calling whether it's going to the right or to the left. But like Nick's shown the aptitude to walk up and say, Coach, we got plus numbers on this side. I'm gonna flip the play over, or I might change the play completely. And, we got a wristband on him that, he can go up there and he can get us in the play that, it's not every play, but I think if you're not, again, we got the iPads on the sideline, but the kids see it and the kids hear us. And if they're paying attention, which we hope they are, they're hearing us talk. We like to run this play against this front, or against this coverage, or against one high or two high safety. So, the kids are the ones out there seeing it in real time. Like, we get the feedback from the iPad, but that's usually a couple minutes later. So we got coaches up in the box and they're watching everything and getting the info down to me. But I just love having a quarterback that has, like I said, that aptitude and that feel for the game, where he can look at a defense and go, hey, we got midline called over here, but they're just loaded up over here. I can check the midline on the other side, or I can go to veer on the other side. And, and again, Nick's that type of kid. Like I said, one of his coaches a couple years ago gave him the nickname the human calculator, and he just takes in a lot of information, and he can get through it really quickly and get us in a good place. So
right. It's always special to have a quarterback like that. You mentioned the term he's cerebral. I think it's important. I don't care what type of offense you run, RPO, wing T, whatever you may run. I think it's important to have a quarterback that's really cerebral, like you said, that can go to the line and make a check and come back to you on the sideline as a player and say, hey, coach, I changed the play up because I'm seeing this on the other side of the ball. So that's a slam dunk for you guys. That's a bonus. Sounds like to me he's a coach on the field. Coach, let's go ahead and move forward. You got a big one coming up this weekend, and you both are 3-0. Titans come to town. Speak to me a little bit about prep week this week, getting ready for the Titans to come to town. I know you guys are coming off that win against East on Friday. When did your prep start for Boylan? Was it immediately after the East game? You guys coaches, you get together, or was it Sunday you guys started to actually prep and focus in on Boylan? Share that with us, please.
Yeah. Our process is kind of, Saturday we're kind of watching ourselves. We're breaking down that Friday night game, and we're trying to get all of our ducks in a row for our Monday meeting with the kids, and it starts with wrapping up the previous week. So, doing all the stats from the game, doing all the corrections, and things we did well, things we could do better. Having those examples ready for the kids. Coach Fagan calls it corrections and teach tape. So things obviously he wants to go over with the kids, and then he's got his clips of, hey, we did this really well. This is stuff that we can use for future to teach other kids and coaches about the principles of what we do. And then obviously Sunday we start kind of diving into our upcoming opponent, and then when and I'm sure our coaches are already kind of starting to break down. I'm starting to, once I finish our previous week's opponent on Saturday, I'm starting to dive into upcoming opponent. And that's something that we kind of even start even before that, not really watching the film, but just tagging like data and film, for down and distance purposes. So that stuff's done when we get to it on, either Saturday or Sunday. But we get together Sunday morning as a coaching staff, and it's, like I said, just kind of debrief on the previous week and then start looking at our upcoming opponent. So when we meet with the kids Monday afternoon, we have our team meeting Monday afternoon, and it's again hand out awards from the previous week, and recognize our players of the week, our scout team players of the week, do all that stuff, and then we kind of wrap with previous week, and then it's on to here's our game plan for this week. And then the second half of that meeting is all upcoming opponent. And we've probably already at that point shared our game plan out with the kids digitally, kind of like we were talking about before. You got huddles, so you might as well use it. So we're sending stuff out to the kids, of our game plan after our meeting on Sunday, so they can kind of get a jump start of looking at it for before Monday's meeting. But then we're all talking, watching film of upcoming opponent and going over any diagrams or any things like that we need for alignment and assignment. And then we go out to either the game field or, any practice field anywhere at North, and it's all kind of walk through. So Monday's a really light day for us. But yeah, we're kind of starting that process on Saturday, and then through Sunday. And then, like I said, when we get with the kids, Monday's kind of a light day, more mentally focused, and Tuesday and Wednesday are our work days. And then Thursday we're going, kind of gearing it back and going through our game script and running personnel on and off the field, for different packages that we have: offense, defense, special teams. Coach Byers is our special teams coordinator, so he does a great job having a game script laid out, like starting from the opening coin toss and all right, we defer, our kickoff team goes out there, defense is hot, defense gets them to fourth down, we put the fist up, it's fourth down, let's get the punt return team out here. So, that's our Thursday, and then our kind of finishing touches and polishing off the game plan, offense and defense. And then, Friday's time to rock and roll.
How's practice been this week? Again, it's Boylan week. Again, both of you guys are 3-0. I think it's going to be a really good game. It'll be a showdown. You guys always play each other tough. I stated that on our overtime show the other day. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Both of you guys have great defenses, but what's the mentality of your players been like this week as you guys are preparing to take on the Titans Friday night?
Yeah, for us, you don't change anything that you do. I mean, that's, as a coach, we try to treat every week as though it's the same as far as our preparation goes. Our kids get up for this game. I think our school gets up for the game because for so long, Boylan was the standard of Nick 10 football. So, they're very solid again this year. They may not have the big names that they've had in previous years, but they're a solid, well-coached team. They always are. They have a great game plan. They watch tons of film, and they have very good coaches over there. And they have very good football players. And, they set the standard in this conference for a very long time. So I think our kids, still get up for this game, I think, a little bit more than the typical game, just because, it's Boylan, and it's, again, everyone kind of is that name is synonymous with success in football in this conference. So
I would agree. I would agree.
Our kids get up for it, but as far as our preparation goes, like I said, we don't really change anything. In what we do, I mean, it's kind of based on our kids. Like, we have some kids out with injury right now, and it's like, so we're getting some kids up to speed. They've got to step up and play. So it's not like we're changing anything that we would from a normal week as far as preparation goes. It's still the same for us. Like I said, Monday's kind of a light day. Tuesday, it's kind of an extended game plan day, but we're still now starting to get some physicality. Today was kind of our difficult day, and that's kind of the way our week always works out. We're still kind of implementing on Tuesday as we're out there on the field. We get some physical reps, but Wednesday is really the day where we get the majority of our physical reps. Now the kids have had that game plan in their hands for 3 days or more. So we expect them to know it forward and backward. So today was the day that we kind of want to see all that be put into application. And then, like I said, we just kind of polish things off tomorrow. So, I think people kind of sometimes put, a certain amount of stigma on a game, but when the lights are bright and there's
the media, right?
Yeah, well, and I just the community and everyone in the school, everyone. In the school
I think Coach. I was thinking today. I'm like, going back on history. It used to be, Boylan, Hananiga rivals. I throw you guys in that conversation. I think you, Boylan and Belvidere North, have been rivals for quite some time. I mean, would you agree?
Yeah,
people get up for this game. People come out to this game. Kids look forward to it. Parents look forward to it. The community looks forward to it. I mean, it's a hype game.
Yeah, and it helps that obviously we've played some just classic football games with them over the last few years.
Oh my God!
We beat them. We beat them on a field goal, a couple years ago with like 45 seconds left in the game. A 48-yard field goal. It would by a sophomore kicker. We beat them on that game, and that game was just crazy. I mean, they had all the momentum. We go in down at halftime. We have a kickoff return for a touchdown. We have an interception return for a touchdown, and then all of a sudden we have all the momentum, and they come back and tie it. And we kicked that field goal late in the game. It was just a really crazy game. And then last year, they're beating our butts in the first half. And we don't even look like, we know where we're at. And then all of a sudden we come out in the second half and get some big plays. And all of a sudden we're right back in it. We're in overtime. And, played some classic games with them recently. So, like I said, people watch those games and they're just great high school football games. That's the thing I said, the catch story the last, after those games was just like, hey, that's a great high school football game.
Absolutely, I would agree.
We got him a couple years ago, and then they got us last year. And both times I just shook his hand and said, "That's a great high school football game." So that's,
right.
I think people remember those games, and then they get up for them.
Oh yeah, man. Two great programs. Again, like I said, I think it's going to be a dogfight. May the best team win. Coach, before we close here, one last question. Where do you want to be at the end of the season? Where do you want to be? What's ideal for you? Where do you want to be as a head coach at the end of the season?
We have huddle group leaders in our program, and every year I meet with those kids and I kind of talk about what my goals are. But I also always, try to talk to them, like if they have any different goals. For us, it's at the end of the regular season, I think we want to be in the conversation for the conference championship. Obviously, you want to be in that position where it's coming down to weeks 8 and 9 on who's going to be the conference champion. As long as we're in that conversation, we're doing things right. Obviously, if you're in that conversation, you've probably qualified for the playoffs. When you get in the playoffs, it would be really nice to host a game. It'd be really nice to obviously, play past the second round, which we've been able to do a couple times. So, just talking to our kids about that, and I talked to our huddle group leaders this year, and, they want to have the best season that Belvidere North has ever had, so that's something that they wanted to have. Our team last year broke the school record for wins with 9 wins. So they want to be better than that team. That was something that they talked about. But, as far as where we're at, really for me, I want to be healthy. That's the main thing. I want to have our kids, I want to have our kids healthy, and like I said, if we're in that conversation for the conference championship, that means we've qualified for the playoffs, and hopefully we're healthy enough to make a run, because playing extra football is always fun. You get to play, like I said, last year, 12 weeks of football is great. We always want to keep that season going at the end. So.
Right. Well, Coach, hey, man, it's been a pleasure having you on. Definitely, I'll have you back. Again, good luck this weekend. Good luck the rest of the way. And as you just close with, stay healthy. All right?
Yeah.
I'll see you on the road. Coach Beck, everybody. Thanks a lot, Coach. I appreciate you.
All right. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
All right. No problem.